Alright, today I'll be going over homework 7.3. This will be number 9. So this problem was requested for me to do. So let's go ahead and dive in. And before we start the problem, I want to show you the formulas that we'll be using. So let's go ahead and pull it up. So the two main formulas we'll be using is the standard deviation of the sample mean and the z-score for a sample mean. So 7.3 is all about sample means. So these will be the main two formulas we'll be using right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and read the question now. High rent district. The mean monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment with a doorman in Manhattan is $2,681. Assume the standard deviation is $510. A real estate firm samples 112 apartments. Use table 8.2 if needed. What is the probability that the sample mean rent is greater than 2,751? All right, so first thing we need to do here is we need to find our standard deviation of the sample mean. So as you remember, so this is a formula to find the standard deviation of a sample mean. So we're going to use standard deviation of the population divided by the square root of the sample size. So let's go ahead and do that. So equal sign. So our standard deviation is 510 divided by square root. And you can do this on your calculator or you can use Excel. I I won't be able to show y'all what I'm doing, so I'll choose to use Excel. And the sample size is 112. Alright, so this is our standard deviation right here. So now I said, what is the probability that the sample mean rent is greater than 2751? So now the formula we're going to use is the z-score formula. So z-score for sample mean. So we're going to use this one. The x bar minus the mu divided by standard deviation of the sample mean. Alright. So type in z-score. So I'll just type in z. Let's do it. Z of 2751. Alright. So equals. So 2751. Boom. Minus our mean, which is 2681, divided by our standard deviation. All right, and we always wanted to round this to 2 decimals, and boom, boom, boom. So your z-score, it needs to be rounded 2 decimals for the table purpose. So 1.45. Let's go and look in our table. So positive 1.45. So we got 1.45. All right. So this point right there, 0.926. So area is 0.9265. But the question asks for what the rent that is greater than this. So that means we have to do a complement. So we have to do 1 minus. So equals 1 minus 0.9265. All right, and that will be our answer we'll get. So let's go ahead and put that in. 0.0735. All right. So what is the probability that the sample mean rent is between these two values? All right, so let's go. So we're going to find a z-score of both values. So I'll do z of 2650 area. I always just choose the higher value to go first, but you can choose either one. It doesn't matter. So 2500, and the area, we're gonna find that next. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in our formula again. So the same z-score formula. So 2650 divided by, take away our mean, which is a 2681. All right, divided by our standard deviation. All right. Just always keep our z-score to 2 decimals. All right, so negative 0.64. I think I pressed the number lock on accident. All right, so negative 0.64. Let's go one more over. Negative 0.64. All right, so that's our area for this, our first z-score. So 0.2611. All right, so now let's find our z-score for the second value, which is 2500 minus our mean of 2681. Again, we got our mean from up here. Divided by our standard deviation. All right. Go ahead and round this value up to 2 decimals. All right. So negative 3.76. So as you see, the highest on my table goes up to 3.44. I believe your table goes up to 3.7, but anything 3.7 or higher, the value, the area would just be 0.0001. So anything above 3.7 is going to be 0.0001. All right. So now we'll just subtract the difference of the areas and we'll get our answer. And make sure you subtract the highest area from the lowest. So from the higher one from the lower one. All right. And so 0.261. Perfect. All right. Find the 55th percentile of the sample mean. Okay, so this one is going to be a little different formula. So this one we're going to have to use this formula to convert the z-score to the raw score, because they give us the area, but they want us to find the x value. So remember the formula: mu plus z-score times standard deviation. All right. So we'll put the formula right here. So x value, x value for the 55th percentile. All right. So the mean, which is 2681, so 2681 plus the z-score, so that we gotta find the 0.55 on our table, turn to a z-score. So we look for the area. So I always remember that percentile is the same thing as area. So 0.55, look like this will be our closest value. So 0.13 will be our z-score, because it's 0.55. We turn to our z-score. So 0.13 times 0.13 times our standard deviation. All right, close parentheses. All right, so that would be our x value right there. And it says round answer to 2 decimals. So 2687.27. All right, perfect. The next question. Would it be unusual if the sample mean were greater than that. Okay. So let's see. So let's find our z-score. So z of 2742. So we're going back to our z-score formula. So equals 2742 minus 2681, which is our mean. So 2742, I got it from right here. 2681, I got it from my mean all the way up at the top of the problem. Divide by our standard deviation. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this to 2 decimals. I know you don't have to do this part. I just like to. All right, so area. So let's turn that z-score to an area. So 1.27. So 1.27. All right, 1.27. So 0.8980. All right, and the question asks for the mean that's greater than this. So whenever it says more or greater, always remember that you have to use the complement. And the complement is 1 minus. So 1 minus that 0.8980, it give us 0.102. So 0.102. It says, would it be unusual? Unusual if it's less than 5%. So 0.05. This is greater than 5%. This is 10%. So it would not be unusual. Perfect. Do you think it would be unusual for an individual apartment to have a rent greater than 2742? Explain. All right. So a lot of times this is a trick question. You see that the sample means are the same, so you'll think to put the same answer, but it's actually not. This part 4, the question is dealing with sample mean. Part 5, the question is saying individual. So whenever it says individual, you're not dealing with the sample mean no more. Now we're dealing with our original standard deviation. So remember, when it says individual, you go back to your original standard deviation of the population. When it's sample mean, we use our new standard deviation we found. So we're going to use this standard deviation. So 510. All right. So let's find the z-score again. So z of 2742. All right. So equals. So 2742 minus our mean, just 27. I think it's 61, but let me double check. 2681. So our mean is 2681. All right, divided by our standard deviation of the population. So we're gonna do 510. Not our new standard deviation, but our standard deviation of the population, because it asks for individual. All right, so we got this answer. Let's go bring it to 2 decimal places. That should bring it to 0.12. All right. All right, and they said greater than. So we know once we find our area, we're going to have to do the complement. So it's going to be 1 minus and whatever our area is. So let's go ahead and find that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go ahead and close that. So 0.12. All right. 5478. That's the area for the z-score of 0.112. All right, so that will be our answer right there. And would it be unusual? No, it would not be unusual. because that answer is definitely 45% is definitely greater than 5%. 0.4522. All right, perfect. All correct. All right, so I hope that helps you. And if you need more questions, just go ahead and let me know. All right, thank you guys.